See not only what's been happening, what patterns have continued, but to see the responses that people have had to the current events, and specifically just like refusing to acknowledge reality, right? Refusing to acknowledge that there are statistics showing that what happens to, particularly for African American men in encounters with police officers is dramatically different than what happens for anyone else. So it's frustrating to see that people just won't even acknowledge that reality. It's frustrating to see the stories and still people don't get it, right? I grew up in the suburbs. My parents were very well educated. I had a lot of opportunities that many people that grew up in Black communities didn't have, right? And so oftentimes when I would have something that was good or successful, I can't tell you how many times I've been told, "You're the whitest Black guy I know." As though something good could not be attributed to Blackness, right? As if you saw something good, so I'm going to take that away from you and put it over here and attribute that to being white, because everything I know of being Black is not good. I can't tell you how many times people have looked and said, "Well, look, Ryan, you've done well. Why can't people just be more like you?" It's like, well, you don't understand this. You haven't listened to my story. Like, you haven't actually heard about the racist teachers I had all the way through growing up. You haven't heard about the community of Black parents that said, this particular administrator at this particular school is a problem, and this is how we've had success in addressing him. Like, you haven't heard the story of just a few weeks ago, me trying to navigate through downtown so I could go home after work, that started with me rolling down my window to ask the police officer, "What would you like me to do? Do you want me to stop or go this way or that way?" And ended with him screaming and yelling at me, "I can make your life miserable. I will make your life miserable, I promise." They haven't heard the stories of me going home to see my mom out in Katy just to visit her and getting pulled over by a police officer. And this is how the interaction will go. Pulled over, I let down my window, I have my hands on the steering wheel waiting because I know I just don't want to give him any reason to not be comfortable, right? And that he's gonna walk up to the car and he's gonna take his flashlight, which is very bright, and he's gonna put it directly in my face like this. Like he's gonna try to instigate something. And I'm just gonna keep my hands on the wheel, I'm gonna squint, and I'm just gonna say, "Yes, sir, officer, sir." I've already pulled out my license and registration because I don't want him to get to my car and for me to move and him to feel uncomfortable. So I have it ready for him. And when he asks for it, I would slowly reach on the dashboard and hand it to him. He asks me if I live nearby, I tell him I'm visiting my mother, and then he goes back to his car and sits there for 15 minutes and wastes my time. And then he comes back and tells me, "I'm gonna let you go with a warning." And I say, "Thank you, sir," and I drive home. And then the next time I come to Katy, I get pulled over by the exact same officer, and it repeats. And so when people tell me, "Oh, you've done well," I'm like, "No, you haven't listened to my story. Like, you haven't heard." And that's what's so frustrating, is that people haven't heard. When my mom tells a story about my brother being really little, and she says, he goes, "Mom, and she was just tired and wasn't feeling it." I know there are parents in the room who have little ones, and you understand, right? "Mom," and then he goes, "Mommy, mommy, 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 mommy," and she busted out laughing because it was just hilarious to her. But the point I'm making is that